Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Rollin.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. Coming up on Rollin Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. They're calling it the big, beautiful bill. But let's be real, this is not pretty. It screws working class people. They are ignored. All of these folks who voted for Trump, y'all are getting screwed. The House has passed Trump's massive tax and spending plan by a single vote. But what is it going to cost us? We're talking Medicaid, energy, as well as other programs various communities depend on. Folks, the lies keep flying in the White House. Trump tries to push a fake white genocide narrative about South Africa using made-up stories and photos from the wrong African country. Yes, that's how dumb he is. Big win for public education. A federal judge has blocked Trump's attempt to dismantle the Department of Education, calling it unconstitutional and a threat to students across the country. They continue their attack on Harvard now, saying unless Harvard complies in the next 72 hours, they cannot accept any more international students, and all international students with visas got to transfer. These people are insane. Plus, tonight in Marketplace, we're giving flowers to a black entrepreneur who's sweetening the game. The founder of BitToy Sweet Treats will be on the show to talk legacy, hustle, and building a business from scratch. And also, Scott Jennings of CNN literally made a comment about the poor last night that I found so abhorrent, especially for a man who's born in a broke-ass state called Kentucky. Oh, I got to roast his ass. It's time to bring the funk on Rollin Martin Unfiltered. On the Black Star Network, let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Rollin Martin, yeah. Rollin with Rollin now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Rollin Martin now. Martin.
Folks, we are really dealing with a thug in the White House. Today, they sent a letter to Harvard University saying that they are banning any international students at Harvard, and if anyone with a visa, they must transfer in the next 72 hours unless they comply with these directives from these idiots. Well, guess what? A federal judge literally has just blocked them from terminating the legal status of international students. A U.S. District Judge Jeffrey White has made that decision, blocking the Trump from terminating the legal status of international students, including at Harvard, all across the country. All across the country as well, plus from arresting and detaining them. This is unbelievable, what was announced by the Trump administration. Again, ordering them to comply with this directive that just makes no sense. I just want to quickly go to my panel. Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Also joining us is Dr. Nola Haynes, of course, first of all, she's at Georgetown University. And of course, foreign policy expert. No, these people, and we'll be joined shortly by Reese Colbert. Folks, no, these people are literally insane. This is a jihad they have against Harvard. That's what's going on here.
1,000%. The part-time occupant in the White House has something against my alma mater. Sorry, boo-boo, that you didn't get to go there, because, whatever he doesn't get to do, whoever doesn't want to play with him and his toys, then, he wants to break them and their toys. I'm just so over Trump and his little cabal. Every day is something with these people, and it's so petty and it's so childish and it's so obvious and it's embarrassing. Like, I am over these people, but I'm happy the judge stepped in and said, no, slow your roll. You cannot unilaterally, I'm gonna say this word a lot tonight, Rollin. Unilaterally. I know Trump thinks he's a king, but he is not a king. You just can't decree things by order of King Trump. That's not how it works. I'm gonna stop there.
Greg, they're thugs. They're absolute thugs. That's who they are. They're going after Harvard. They're going after Columbia. They're going after all these schools. And to sit here and say, because first of all, 27% of Harvard's students are international. And those are the people who pay full freight. And so Trump is trying to go after the money.
Yes. And, you know, Roland, it's certainly absurd. He's certainly a clown, or as Lamont King calls him, a bozo. Bose, not Hove, but Bose. But the reality is that there's a method to this madness. It isn't in his dissembled, dissolving brain. It's in the brain of Russell Vought and Project 2025. You know, remember, Russell Vaught's the quarterback of Project 2025. Chapter 2 of Project 2025, Executive Office of the President of the United States. Vought elaborates on this absurd, expansive theory of the executive. Basically, the president is a king in the mind of this clown. I'm saying that to say this. The confrontation is the point. The Atlantic just did a long article on Russell Vought talking about Trump 2.0 and where this is headed. This goes back to what we've talked about so many times, and you've walked through Project 2025, the Schedule F. You know, he's the architect of that, replacing all the staff people in the federal government with loyalists and all that. But in this particular case, remember last week, the Supreme Court ruled trying to push back, but not completely like they should have, against the idea that a federal judge in one district can make a ruling that would apply to the country. Well, we just saw that. We're seeing that in real time in terms of the importance of that with this ruling. I'm saying all that to say this. Yes, your little boy didn't get into Harvard, Donald. I'm sorry about that with Barron. And yes, as you say, Nolan, as you say, Dr. Haynes, it's petty, it's vindictive. And the deeper approach is destroy the universities, destroy the federal government completely. Not shrink it down where it can drown, like Grover Norquist would say, but literally remake it into a weapon for white nationalism. And remember, in terms of HBCUs, this is always stuck in the craw of those. Like, remember when you covered the story about those white nationalists in North Carolina that wanted to stop out-of-state people from coming? Remember the percentage of international students, and I'm not just talking about continental African students, the percentage of international students at HBCUs is outsized. They're from Nepal, they're from China. This is an existential threat to the intellectual infrastructure of K-12 and university level. They're not going to get away with it in the short term, but make no mistake about it, they are doing this to force a confrontation with the courts, not to try to be nice and avoid one.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what's going on. I mean, so they want this battle. They want this fight. This is what it's all about. Reese Cobra joins us right now. And Reese, I'm telling you, let me be real clear. I don't give a damn about Harvard. I don't.
Yeah, you say that all the time. Every time I hear my Harvard year.
I don't give a damn about Harvard. I don't give a damn about any of these Ivy League schools. But what I do understand is that what they are doing is a precursor to what they want to do to other schools, and HBCUs better take notice.
Well, that's 100% correct, Roland. And to be fair, that's probably why they go after Harvard, because who's going to be that sympathetic of Harvard? It's a bunch of Ivy League educated people. They have massive amounts of money in terms of their endowments. And so they don't necessarily make the most sympathetic cause, even for the average layperson who doesn't agree with what Donald Trump is doing.
But also, Reese, though, if you do go after Harvard and take them down because they have the most money, you know anybody below them. That listen, you saw the other Ivy League schools that buckled because they can't withstand that level of pressure like Harvard can. So you go after the big fish.
And that's why we have to connect the dots, as you've been doing, or as everybody's been doing so far. This is an opening salvo. Now, how many times have we said that over the past couple of years about what the opening salvo was? It's a test case. And so why not take out the biggest fish that you can take out first, and then everything else crumbles? But the other part of it is just the humanitarian aspect of it. Harvard is powerful. Individuals are not powerful. And so if people have to be worried about being snatched off the street because arbitrarily Kristi Noem with her stupid ass, or whoever, Marco Rubio, decides that they're going to revoke a foreign student's visa status, that it makes them less likely to not only want to study at Harvard, but to want to be in this country at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have made a trade-off through Donald Trump between white, South African, pro-apartheid peasants and physicists and doctoral students who are from other countries, all because of the priority and the delusional misplacement of value that Donald Trump puts on whiteness. And so this week could not be any more glaring about how wrong the choices this administration is making and how wrong of a direction this country is heading in. Every single thing, when you look at all the choices that are being made and the fake justification for them, this shit is beyond off the walls crazy.
It is.
And what we're dealing with here again, and I need people to understand, and we're putting this in the context because it rightly deserves it. We're dealing with thugs. We're dealing with arrogant individuals. We're dealing with people who do not believe in the rule of law.
Right.
These folk don't believe it, Nola, and what they are in their minds. The only court that matters is the right-wing Supreme Court, and they pissed off at Amy Coney Barrett because she's not falling in line. She's not Clarence Thomas or Sam Alito, and so they've thought, oh man, we got us 6 hardcore. They let go of Roberts because he still pissed them off with the Affordable Care Act. They thought they had 5 solid. Now they mad as all get out because so Trump's whole deal is, yo, I got my court. I can do whatever I want to do because they gonna let me.
Oh yeah, 1000%. And it's really interesting when you are in power. And in this case, we're talking about the Supreme Court. And if you look at Congress, they're really you have to reconcile with yourself. Am I willing to forego my own power in service of Donald Trump? And I think this is one of the things that we're confronting, right? It's people trying to deal with their own situation and their own power, and then also realizing, wait a minute, the seriousness of what we are talking about. You are literally talking about abandoning the rule of law. They already, work their hoodoo in terms of voting. So they want people to be complicit in completely destroying democracy. And when you are in a situation to where you can participate in that, and then you have to say, wait a minute, and you have to really sit down with yourself and ask yourself, is this what I want to be doing? Is this what I want to, is this the legacy that I want to leave? To completely abdicate my own power and service to a megalomaniac, right? So, and I don't know, in all truth, how many Republicans are actually going to have that come to Jesus moment. I'm tired of hearing from people that, behind closed doors, they're saying this, they're saying that. I don't care what they're saying behind closed doors. What I care about are their actions. What I care about is what they did last night, with this horrible, big ass ugly bill. There's nothing beautiful about it. So when it comes to the Supreme Court, where we know that that's kind of like the last bastion of hope, they kind of are like the levee walls, right? You really have to confront yourself and ask yourself, what do you want your legacy to be? Do you want all those history books written about you being complicit and completely giving Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, all of them, Stephen Miller, the whole gang, the whole cabal, the entirety of the United States of America? It's overwhelming. It's exhausting because every day it's something. But I will say, just like Trump won, the judiciary has stepped up in many cases to hold the walls of democracy. We'll see if that will continue to happen.
Oh yeah, I mean, Greg, we again, I for all them simple Simons out there who we kept trying to explain why the courts matter, and they listening to these fools, you know, yelling and screaming that they Pan-Africanists and all this little nonsense, and saying, oh, your vote don't matter, and them judges don't matter. Well, guess what? We are literally seeing this thing being barely held together because of judges. And what's pissing Republicans off is conservative appointed judges who kind of believe in the rule of law. And it's driving them crazy that they're ruling against them.
It is driving them crazy, and it's a compelling choice of phrase that you use there, Roland. A white nationalist isn't just a domestic white nationalist. When you talk about something being barely held together, I'll tell you something else is being barely held together, and that's this coalition that is allowing this. The domestic white nationalists, the white nativists, the white American nativists, the white U.S. nativists are America first, for sure. But then you've got the white internationalists. This is what we're seeing with the Afrikaners. Donald Trump wants to set him up as the defender of the white world. So if you're anywhere in the white world, come to America. This is, of course, the fever dream brain of Stephen Miller, his little political cretin in the White House. They want to attract all the white people here as if they can reverse the demographic, which of course they can't. But then there are other elements. Of course, Elon Musk is a pure grifter. That's why we saw him in the White House yesterday, because he wants Starlink in South Africa, and Cyril Ramaphosa and the South African government isn't going to allow any of his business to do that come there without making sure that there's an equitable distribution among the population in South Africa. That's why he's pissed off. Then you have, of course, Steve Bannon, who's fighting with Elon Musk because he's a white globalist and also a nativist. All those elements are there. In this case, you're absolutely right about the courts. As everyone has said, you know, as Reese has said, and as Nola's just said, the courts are the line of last defense. But remember what Russell Vought and what those who believe in this unitary executive theory are saying is that the courts don't matter. So what they're going to do, what they are pushing toward, is open defiance. That's why you saw the judge in Massachusetts with the rendering that sent people somewhere out of the United States. Apparently it was supposed to be South Sudan, but we don't know now where the plane is. And so the judge says, well, they can remain outside of the country, but they must have these cases resolved. They got to have due process. Well, that's a concession, but what it really is an attempt for the courts to say, we don't want to just openly hold you in contempt, because what we think you will do is simply say, we don't care. You see that previewed in Propaganda Barbie. You see that previewed in the Christian soldier Pete Hegseth, the defense, who's having prayer meetings now in the damn Pentagon because he is a white Christian nationalist crusader. You see that preview when they say that the president and the executive branch simply does not believe. What does that mean? That means the law says this, but the president doesn't believe that the law is correct. When you say don't believe, finally, it underscores the point you just made. You are saying that there is a rule of law, but that rule of law is in your addled, warped, theocratic mind. The head of your law is your imaginary white nationalist Jesus, and that empowers you to do whatever the hell you want. And that is where we are.
See, Reese, when I listen to these people, oh, you have Trump derangement syndrome. Y'all just keep talking about this. I'm like, y'all don't understand. These people are not playing. They are trying to figure out how much can we get away with? How much damage can we wreak in this country? That's the game here. This ain't no time to be playing jokes. These people are deadly serious about their thuggish ways.
Absolutely. I mean, look, they've already gotten generational gains. We said this back when when Donald Trump was elected in 2016, and we said that was on the line in 2020 as well. And it's the same thing. What they're playing for now is for keeps. They're not playing for a generation. They're playing for a permanent realignment that will solidify their white minority rule, and more specifically, white billionaire minority rule. Because trust me, those little South Afrikaners that they done brought in, they're going to be out there tilling the fields with the other white farmers that are being displaced by this war on USAID and the tariff wars. And so this is strictly about making sure that they are entrenched and ingrained in every single aspect when it comes to power. That's why they're going after Congresswoman McIver. They're saying they've already said judges don't matter. They arrested a white lady judge, and she's still facing charges in Wisconsin. Now they've arrested a black woman congresswoman because they figured, who gonna give a fuck about a black woman being already abused by these mass ICE agents, and then turn around and have her power, the power that is vested in her through the Constitution and through her duties and her being an elected official, stripped from her. And so they have strategically, and to their credit, they've been very, very clever about this. They have each time picked their target that will result in the least amount of resistance, that will result in people saying, well, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That's what they're doing right now with this Medicaid cuts, with these SNAP cuts. I ain't on Medicaid. I ain't on SNAP. I work for my stuff. I ain't getting no hands out. They know what they're doing. And even though as much as we try to call it out and try to tell people, like, stay woke, like this is what the tea is, people still have their heads in the sand. That's why we had 89 million motherfuckers stay at home when everything was on the line. Not even just trying to undo some of the damage of Trump, which Biden Harris managed to do, but to try to hang on to some semblance of a country. I know Dr. Carr ain't gonna miss it, but for the rest of us who kind of like the kind of thing, we got a good game going on, shit's canceled. They playing for keeps, like you said, Rollin.
That is the case. All right, y'all, we got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to break. The amount of lies that were being told yesterday in the Oval Office, absolutely stunning. And we're going to show you how dumb and inept Donald Trump is. You're watching Rollin Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life, we are talking about the many women and female role models that play an integral role in our lives. From helping to boost our self-esteem to checking us when we get out of line. These women deserve their flowers for helping us to become who we are today.
The women in my lives who have just impacted me so much, have challenged me. They're women who made me want to live right and love right.
That's all next on A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
Me, Sherry Shepard with Sammy Roman.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Rollin Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, yesterday at the White House, this idiot Donald Trump, in a meeting with the South African president, held up these photos, played this video, showing mass graves in South Africa. These are white farmers being killed. Roll it.
These are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. Death, death, horrible death, death. I don't know.
But you know that
pick
black
anyone.
People who are
White
dying
South
the most.
Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws. And this is all, I mean, I'll give these to you. So when you say, what would I like to do? I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couple say that they were attacked violently.
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is?
Well, I could do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers that are being buried.
President Trump.
And he asks about a jet that was given.
My first question is about Africa.
They're not interested in the
You know, you are so bad. You're such a bad reporter.
If they're committing genocide, why invite them? Sir, if they are committing genocide, why invite the South Africans to the White House?
May I finish, please, President Trump? President Trump.
This is one after another. This family was wiped out. I'm just looking.
Can we get a response from President Trump?
Can you give us your reaction to those videos, Mr.
President Trump, could you?
Well, I think the videos are so. No. When you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what it is. And I have other friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land. They take your land and they kill you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now we're going to talk about it. But this is a tremendous look. This is a story recent. These are all people that recently got killed. Yeah. And I don't know how it can get any worse. These are okay.
Well, today at the White House, Carolyn Levitt, the flat-out liar spokeswoman for Donald Trump, was asked by NBC reporter Yamiche El-Sindor about those photos. Check this out.
The president showed a video that he said showed more than 1,000 burial sites of white South Africans that he said were murdered. We know that that was not true and that the video wasn't showing that. So I wonder, why did the president choose to show that?
What's not true, Yamiche?
It's not true that the video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
No, it is true that that video showed the crosses that represent.
Which is what the president claimed.
The video showed images of crosses in South Africa about white farmers who have been killed and politically persecuted because of the color of their skin. And those crosses are representing their lives. Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it. Are you disputing that there's no...
I'm disputing the fact that the video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is who at the White House...
No, it did show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verifies the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information being put out for the world and world leaders to show?
Yamiche, what's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact, the Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated, not just by that video and the physical evidence that everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this room, the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated, and that's a ridiculous line of questioning. John, go ahead.
Well, this is how stupid and dumb she is. The video that Trump showed of dead white farmers was actually 2020. It was a fake 2020 demonstration about all farmers being killed. And guess what? If you look at the numbers, 9 farmers' deaths, 8 of them black farmers who died. 8. But check this out. The photo he showed, the photo, y'all, wasn't even from South Africa. The photo was from the Congo. It was a burial site where black women had been raped and killed in the Congo. That's what that idiot did. But see, they don't care about the lie. What they care about is how the lie traveled and how it built sympathy. Oh my God, look at this, how the white farmers are being attacked. This is just shameful, what's going on. We're dealing with a mass liar trying to prove mass graves. That's who this man is. It's how despicable this man is. It's how shameful this man is. What did I say to Chris Christie on ABC in September 2021? And this is the reason why I haven't been back. I said, he has no morals, no values, no principles, no ethics, no integrity, no honor, no decency. Donald Trump is a despicable human being. He truly is the orange stain in a white pair of shorts. That's who he is. He is a liar. He's a narcissist. He was disrespectful to the black folks from South Africa yesterday, and the only people who he would listen to were the white people from South Africa. That's who this thug is. He is a liar. And instead of admitting, man, we kind of screwed up, no. Instead of saying, well, the image shows Red Cross workers responding to a tragedy, no. Trump's like, these are all white farmers being buried. Because they care about whiteness. They care about whiteness. And that's all that matters. It's about whiteness. I don't watch CNN, but this was a conversation on Abby Phillips' show last night where Scott Jennings, their resident white conservative MAGA Trump loving fool, made it clear all he cared about are the white folks.
Straight up, I mean, we have the numbers. It is completely unsubstantiated. I mean, Scott,
you're saying it's not true that some white farmers have been murdered?
No, it's not true that there is a genocide against white farmers.
Okay, whatever you call it, have white farmers been murdered?
Actually, how many
have violence been committed against white farmers?
How many white farmers? Hold on a second. How many white farmers have been murdered in South Africa?
I don't know, several. I mean, they asked.
No, how many? How many?
I don't know, several.
I know why you don't know, because those numbers don't exist broken down by race.
I mean, I know this. I wouldn't trust the South African government to tell me. I know that.
How many black farmers have been murdered in South Africa?
Look, you guys are so triggered over 59 people.
No, I'm not.
After we left 20 million people in the country, I don't know why you're so triggered.
Haven't even brought up the people, the white people that Trump picked out because they were white and told them they could come to the country.
How much racial killing are you going to condone?
There are 19,000 murders in South Africa. 36 were on farms. 7 of the farmers were victims. Okay, this is according to the South African police.
And you think the South African government is a credible source?
The other 29, hold on a second, the 29 victims who were included in the farm killings were farm employees who tend to be black. So the vast majority of people killed on farms in South Africa are black. Where is the concern about them?
The concern is that there are white farmers who have had violence committed against them, and they're being threatened. They're being threatened every single day. There's 59 people,
hold on a second.
And you're triggered about 59 people, and I don't know why.
I haven't mentioned anything about 59 people. Why are you only concerned about white people?
I'm only concerned about this story because these 59 people asked for status. They're getting status, and now everybody's freaking out about it.
They didn't ask for anything.
There is no evidence that white people have been targeted. Some white people in the larger issue of farmers, in the larger issue of violence, have been part of this violence, but there is no...
Why are they trying to get out? Why are they... If there's
the
no...
Scott, the
why
majority...
are they trying to leave?
The majority of...
Have you seen the videos of the people saying, kill the white farmers?
The Afrikaners do not want to leave.
What do you think the phrase, kill the white farmers means?
Yeah, that's a phrase that the ANC... That was a phrase that, was against the anti-apartheid movement. But the ANC, who's ruling the government, the president's government, has disavowed that phrase, has disavowed any songs, and there's no evidence that white people are being targeted. And the majority of Afrikaners do not want to leave.
They're not a part of the government, Scott. Right. You're taking a fringe movement and you're trying to make it a characteristic.
It is the height of racism. It is the height of racism to say that white people have to be exempted from all violence in any society, and that is what is being said here.
See, Scott Jennings, he's representing a lot of white people in this country. They don't know shit about South Africa.
Nope.
They don't know nothing about apartheid. Nope. They can't even tell you what the hell an Afrikaner is. Nope. They ain't got no clue. They ain't got no idea. But he sits there, and when Abby says, well, do you know how many? Well, they're saying a lot. sounds exactly like Trump. Let me just repeat whatever bullshit that I came across, and let me say it emphatically and loudly and arrogantly, and then therefore you should believe it. That's what we're dealing with here, Greg. We're dealing with, again, white nationalists, white supremacists who do not care about the black people of South Africa. Scott Jennings and Donald Trump are the same people who are advising Ronald Reagan to veto the bill, the sanctions bill against the racist apartheid regime in that black majority country.
Yes, sir. I'm taking measured breaths here because the only form of diversity, equity, and inclusion in this funky criminal enterprise is whiteness. Smarm Jennings, Scott Jennings, who certainly has aspirations beyond his paid role at CNN to represent ignorance, whether it be the governor of Kentucky, senator from Kentucky, congressperson from Kentucky. Smarm Jennings is a human joke, but I'm gonna tell you what else. This is what makes Black Star, another reason Black Star Network is so important. There was nobody on that panel equipped to cut his entire throat. Let me be very clear about this. The 59 that he is so concerned about, I understand his concern because as a DEI product over the last 500 years, that type of white person understands the only way they can succeed in human society and compete in human society is to have the leg up of the color of their skin. Smarm Jennings, you should write your own hillbilly elegy to join your eyeliner friend in the White House, Junior Varsity Vance, who is also a product of affirmative action diversity called whiteness. To cut his throat properly, someone on that panel, including Abby Phillip, who is increasingly uncomfortable, but hey, that's the price you pay when you don't come to an independent Black space where you can say what you need and what you want. They weren't prepared to understand, as Alec Russell, writing in this morning's Financial Times under the headline, op-ed headline, "Listen to Afrikaners, not Trump," on the state of South Africa, that the country of South Africa, its constitution runs circles around the Constitution of the United States. Not only is equal protection enshrined in the South African Constitution, but so is affirmative action. Guess who benefits from affirmative action in South Africa? The Afrikaners. Abby and the panelists misspoke. The Afrikaners are in the coalition government of the African National Congress. Their party is in fact called the Freedom Front Plus. One of their strongholds is the Orange Free State. That is the place where the Voortrekkers ended up. There are people who know the name Paul Kruger, for example, one of the most racist of the early Afrikaners, or later Pik Botha, and all of those people. That's what South Africa is. It is a truly multiracial democracy. I thought that the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, did a remarkable job yesterday of talking to his audience, which is the world. Remember, the United States is not in the BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and, I'm trying to think what, South Africa, and more than half of the people in the world. What he did was sit there calmly while that clown showed the rest of the world that maybe it's time to move away from the dollar as the reserve currency because they're being ruled by a madman and too many of them support him. What he showed people yesterday when he said, "I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you." In other words, you're crazy as hell and you're susceptible to bribes. And then what does that clown do? He says, "Yeah, if you had a plane, I'd take it," signaling that America is for sale. And then finally, these Afrikaners, Reese, you said it right. These 59 are part of this scheme, this open white national scheme to bring everybody white to the United States. By the way, all you are descendants of slaves, while you're clinging to the hem of your master's garment, your master wants to bring all the white people from outside the country here because he's a pan-Europeanist and you're a stupid-ass descendant of your slave mentality. Those 59 are what they would call in Afrikaans, the word is Bitterlinders. Bitterlinders are white people when given even affirmative action in South Africa, are still unable to compete, and what they are doing is grifting the nativist white nationalism of the United States. You know what the greatest fear of the Afrikaners in South Africa? Their greatest fear is the loss of their language, the loss of their culture, because their minority is shrinking. What they are not scared of is the erasure of their history, because guess who props up Africana history in South Africa? The government of South Africa. I've been there a half dozen times. Every damn statue they got is still there. Contrast that with the United States, where they're trying to reverse memory. This is why Trump hates South Africa, and he should hate it. This is why Musk hates South Africa, and he should hate it. Why? Because that country ain't scared of its past. You punks. But guess what? Your country about to fracture, and I have a front row seat.
Noah, it is remarkable the level of stupidity that is on stage that supposedly represents this country. And that's what we see from these idiots. And they will vigorously defend a massive lie tooth and nail.
1000%. It all comes from the Roy Cohn, playbook. We've talked about that before. And one thing that I will say is, I know at least the folks on this show tonight, none of us are new to this, in that we have been talking about Trump. We've been sitting with this man, his ideas, if you want to call that, how he's going to respond, the dumb thing he's going to say, the rude thing he's going to say. Where I'm at with this right now is, pretty much we can anticipate this. And as my ears were bleeding, listening from that panel, because it's virtually unlistenable and unwatchable. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to throw shade on the system, but that show is terrible. You can pretty much set your Apple Watch or whatever kind of watch you rocking by what and how Scott Jennings is what he's going to say. The way that he kept using the word triggered. That's intentional. He was never going to answer the question. It has nothing to do with that. But what he is able to do, he's always able to be the loudest voice in the room, because like they all do, they're loud, they're rude, and they're very confident and very arrogant with the way in which they communicate. Even listening to the so-called press secretary, the way that she was drowning Yamiche out, because they never want to listen and respond to actual facts. The way that they respond is by demeaning you and trying to discredit what you're saying, which isn't an actual response. So by now, we should know this. And by now, we should have a different playbook. And, I know that, Dems, we pride ourselves on facts and beating them back with the facts. Okay, we can do that. But it's also time to anticipate what's going to be said and to be ready for the non-answer. So that, for me, like all the years, with these types of people, we know what they're gonna say and how they're going to say it. It is time for us to have a very different response. And the last thing that I want to say about the South African situation, and I'm sorry I couldn't join you last night, Rollin. The one thing that's so irritating and frustrating about this, and Greg, I know you don't do international law, but I know you know this. The way that people are bandying about the word genocide, please understand that is a legal determination. And no unilateral body, including the President of the United States, can determine that. That is a combination of the ICC, the International Criminal Court, the International Criminal Court of Justice, coupled with the UN. That is a legal determination, people. You can't just wake up and say that a genocide is happening. And there are certain specific categories for determining a genocide. And let me tell you something. Being displaced, even if they were being displaced, which they aren't, being displaced is not determinative of genocide. I just had to get that out.
Reese.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, there was a time when that sort of fake intelligence being put in front of the President of the United States and repeated in the Oval Office would have meant resignations. It would have meant firings. That is so embarrassing that the President of the United States cannot be relied upon to accurately detail what's happening across the world. And so that is inexcusable that the DNI person is still there, that anybody even allowed that to happen. But it's Donald Trump. So the more ridiculous the lie, the better it is for him. The other thing, though, is the irony of these Afrikaners is if these people were in the Appalachia, or they were working the mills, or displaced mill workers, or displaced coal mining workers, the same Scott Jennings and all these Republicans would be enthusiastically doing cartwheels to take away their health care, to take away their food stamps, to tell them pick yourself up by your food, by your bootstraps, to cancel any kind of disaster relief because they live in Tornado Alley and they're affected by hurricanes. And so we're seeing South Afrikaners get more protection and more provisions made for them than all of these red state MAGA white voters who are going to get a kick in the face from the bills that this Republican administration has passed. So I hope that they're satisfied, because they went to that ballot box to vote for xenophobia, to vote for racism and sexism and all that kind of stuff. They thought they was getting rid of the Mexicans and the Haitians and whoever the hell else, but they importing a whole bunch of moochers who are going to do nothing but laugh in the face at how easy it was to scam the United States out of a chartered flight and a whole new life in a country because they couldn't hack it back home.
Yep, and they did not like the black woman. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back. We're going to hear from Candace Kelly, an update on what happened today in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Cue the music, please. And so we're going to have that shortly. And don't forget, we want you to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to contribute via Cash App. You can do so, of course, by using the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Go to blackstarnetwork.com. You can also see your check and money order. Make it payable to Rollin Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Rollin at RollinSMartin.com. Rollin at RollinMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, folks, streaming right now on Netflix. You can catch out Terry Vaughn's new show, She the People, where she plays a lieutenant governor in the state of Mississippi. She is doing this show in concert with Tyler Perry Studios. Here is a look at She the People.
You must be my new lieutenant governor.
I'm ready for duty. I think I can make a difference.
Just be a good girl.
I'm gonna need some dinner and a lot of wine. I really don't think that he thinks I'm qualified.
What you gonna do?
Pump my shoulders.
When you want something and you earn something, you fight for it.
Kids, do you know who this is? Mary J. Blige.
I didn't know we was about to be attacked by all of Nick Cannon's kids at once.
So again, the first 8 episodes of She the People airing right now on Netflix. The second 8 airing in August, and tomorrow you'll see my interview with Terry Vaughn talking about on how this all came together. We'll be right back on Rollin Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life, we are talking about the many women and female role models that play an integral role in our lives. From helping to boost our self-esteem to checking us when we get out of line. These women deserve their flowers for helping us to become who we are today.
The women in my lives who have just impacted me so much, have challenged me. They're women who made me want to live right and love right.
That's all next on A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
Right now, I'm rolling with Rollin Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Just keep playing it. Folks, in a sweeping ruling today, Judge Mayong Jun blocked Donald Trump's controversial plan to gut the Department of Education. Actually wants to shut it down, calling it an unlawful power grab that would devastate millions of students and families, especially in underserved communities. The judge made it clear only Congress can eliminate a federal agency created by law. Also, cutting the legs out from under the Education Department like this, guess what? It's real illegal. The judge said, the judge, a Biden appointee, ruled that the Trump administration's mass firing of nearly 1,400 Education Department employees announced in March as a reduction in force was not a legitimate reorganization. We've been saying that. Trump's order exceeded presidential power. The court ordered the immediate reinstatement of all employees who were fired. That's right, all 1,400. And barred the administration from transferring key functions like federal student loan management and special education unions, first of all, special education services out of the department. Now, this all comes after a wave of lawsuits. 20 states, school districts, education unions, and advocates stepped in and said enough is enough. They argued that shutting down the department would crush support for students, families, and state programs. Now, while that's going on, today the United States Supreme Court in a 4-4 decision said that Oklahoma could not allow a religious charter school. They wanted a Catholic charter school that all throughout its curriculum will be driven by Catholicism and their ideology. Well, it was a 4-4 vote, which means that the order from the Supreme Court of Oklahoma ruling that to be unconstitutional simply stands. The reason it was 4-4, because Justice Amy Coney Barrett recused herself because she was closely tied to one of the advisors of that school. In fact, she was the godmother of that woman's children. Let's go back to our panel here. I'm going to start with you, Greg. The legal decision of the Supreme Court is critically important. And I was talking with somebody, I said, but we know what's going to happen. These right-wingers are going to try to launch this school somewhere else. They know they're going to get sued. They wanted to go all the way to the Supreme Court because then Coney Barrett would not have to recuse herself, and they could potentially win 5-4. But I saw a great idea that someone posted. I was in a chat, and someone said, you know what? Here's what should happen. They said that, give me 1 second. Hold on 1 second. I got to read it because it was just too funny. It was just too funny. They said, oh, you know what really should happen? They said, would it really be great if some Muslims decided to launch a madrasa and have the attorney show up in a head wrap he was going and saying, and then say, all right, y'all want religious school? Let's go ahead and do a Muslim charter school. He said, hell, the Supreme Court, they would vote, they would have opposition from all of these evangelicals. They'd be like, hold up, wait a minute. I thought y'all wanted religious charter schools. I said, that would be pretty interesting.
It would, and we've talked about this many times here in this space. I just came back from my niece's graduation in Houston, and you know better than I do. All the talk right now in Texas is that clown governor and his friends trying to steal $1 billion worth of public money and pump it into their white national schools. Texas is Texas and Oklahoma, but Texas specifically is the origin of much of this white nationalist work. Remember, that's the one where the Indian Child Welfare Act and the Rakhine case was challenging as these white Christian nationalists, a white Christian nationalist family with a bunch of money trying to take these indigenous babies. So I think that is exactly the type of challenge, as we've said before, that would reveal the true agenda here. The true agenda is not to destroy the wall between church and state. The true agenda is to create a theocracy in this country. Because in the case of Pennsylvania, you know, as an adopted Philadelphian, I remember a school that was created by African traditional religion followers, Ifa, the Sankofa Shule, and they were Yoruba. And guess what? You apply to the state and say, hey, religious school. You got Catholic school, so why not schools for the Yoruba, Ifa practitioners, the Orisha worshipers? I think it is exactly the type of case that should be brought. And I think I agree with you. Islam would be the beautiful delivery system. What you gonna do then? In this case, it's very interesting, as you say, Coney Barrett recuses herself, but we see John Roberts desperate because of the monster he unleashed in 2010 with Citizens United, now eating the courts, eating the law, eating his funky criminal enterprise country. He is now ready to ally himself with Sotomayor, Ketanji Onyeka Brown Jackson, and Atlanta Kagan. And that's why it's 4-4, so the ruling stands. But this is really the most important dimension of this case. This would have been the nation's first religious charter school. There is an establishment clause in the federal Constitution. They were trying to take a jackhammer to that, whether it be the MAGA Muppet, Mike Johnson, whether it be Russell Vaught, who was raised in strictly religious schools and then went to Wheaton, the same place Richard Nixon went to school, and then finds his way into serving as Mike Pence's chief, and now is the quarterback of Project 2025 and is moving all this. This isn't just about policy. This isn't about tax breaks. This is about trying to create a theocracy. And if they had succeeded today, Roland, I think the strategy that you are talking about, that we've talked about many times here and that you quoted here, oh, that's got to be it. When I say the country's going to be torn up, I don't mean that the people in the country are not going to survive. I mean, we will finally renegotiate the terms of this funky criminal enterprise, because at the center of America is white Christian theocracy. And until we understand that, everything else we think we understand is just confusing us.
This attack, Reese, on the Department of Education, this has been the wet dream of conservatives for a very long time. And again, we are seeing where these judges, and I got to keep going back to it, because I had to listen to so many Simple Simon Negroes. Man, y'all keep bringing up all them judges. How we know them judges pro-black? How we know them judges don't mean nothing? I'm gonna tell you right now, the only thing saving our asses right now are the judges.
No, really, barely.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, I lost your sound.
No, we're right here. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. And it's funny because I remember, well, it's actually not funny, but I remember when now Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was being bandied about as one of the candidates. I had somebody call into to Urban View and say, she got a white husband. If they select her, I ain't vote a Democrat. And I'm like, what? Well, what about all the other justices who have white spouses? So what difference does it make? We're not going to vote on policy or nothing like that. But that's the problem. I think that on our side, we just don't take it seriously enough. And so then we wonder why we're overcharged. We wonder why bogus charges don't get dropped. We wonder why we are victimized at every step of the justice system. And then we wonder why it doesn't serve us, because we do not realize the way that the judicial system is a key tenet of the way that this country operates, for better or for worse. And so we have seen through the courts, we're getting some sort of relief. It's holding things kind of sort of together, but it definitely feels like it's like a Band-Aid on a jug that's about to just bust right open. And it's just not adequate because this administration is ignoring it. They yesterday reportedly deported people, I should say human trafficked people, to South Sudan, despite the fact that a judge said don't do it. And so to the extent that this administration can be forced to actually adhere to judicial rulings, and sometimes they adhere to it, sometimes they don't. This was critically important, and so it's unfortunate that we took our eye off the ball for whatever reason in 2016 and again in 2024, because if Clarence Thomas retires or any of these other old ass judges on there retire, then they got the courts for another 20 years. So it's unfortunate. But the thing about education, what they're trying to do is they want to not only just dumb down this populace, but they also want to control who gets access to a key way that we have built out the middle class, which is through the educational system. Yes, teachers are underpaid, but that's still a very critical pathway to a middle class lifestyle. The same with higher education. And so they want to, through this extreme ideology and as Dr. Carr said, theocracy, want to try to gatekeep every aspect of accessing the educational system and accessing the middle class.
Noah?
So a few things stand out to me regarding this. As a person who went to Catholic school, born and raised in a Catholic city, we've had this conversation before. What strikes me very interesting about this is I want to make a distinction about what we're talking about here. And Greg, you're right when you talk about this kind of this move towards a theocracy. I would argue a very extreme sort of theocracy, a very specific sort of theocracy, because we're not talking about a Jesuit Catholic school or even maybe an old school Roman traditional, a very Roman Catholic traditional school. We're talking about something else very different here. So, I would say to push the boundaries even further, not to open just a madrasa, but a very extreme madrasa. Right? Because that's really what we're talking about. That's really the difference towards this pivot, where some of the folks that are in this administration are connected to Opus Dei, which is the extreme wing of Catholicism, right? Which has been kept at bay in a lot of the Catholic school systems for a while. But this push And especially now that, they are well placed, that they're in power now, this is the move, right? This is to try and indoctrinate and normalize a lot of this kind of extreme Opus Dei kind of ideology, which is dangerous and problematic. And to Reese's point, absolutely, the goal of any autocracy, any autocrat, any tyrant is to have an uneducated mass. The past couple days, I watched this thing called the Great Courses, and I've been watching this course on medieval England. And what's so sad and what's so scary, some of the things that we are talking about in terms of an uneducated mass, the types of personalities that were in charge and all these different things. I'm watching this today. I'm like, why does this sound like 2025? In the United States of America. So to say that we are going backwards, the time machine isn't going back far enough. Like, they are taking us to a time where people could not read the Bible. So you had to trust what people were telling you. And that's the goal, right? The Book of Eli is one of the dopest movies on a planet because it tells the truth about the person who holds the Bible. The person who holds the Bible can tell you whatever they want to tell you when you can't read or write. And I hope I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this, right, but this is kind of the backwards trajectory that this country is on.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. So I got to come back after the break to deal with CNN Scott Jennings. So last night, the issue of the poor came up within the framework of their discussion about this Republican big, beautiful bill. I think poor little Scott forgot where he came from. Oh, I'm going to explain when we come back. You're watching Rollin Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens. Have you ever had a $1 million idea and wondered how to bring it to life? Well, it's all about turning problems into opportunities. On our next Get Wealthy, you'll learn of a woman who identified the overload bag syndrome, and now she's taking that money to the bank through global sales in major department stores.
And I was just struggling with 2 or 3 bags on the train. And I looked around on the train and I said, you know what? There are a lot of women that are carrying two or 3 bags.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
I'm Russell L. Honore, Lieutenant General, United States Army retired, and you're watching Rollin Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, the so-called big, beautiful bill just barely made it through the House, and it could mean huge changes to your wallet, health care, and your community. And the razor-thin 215 to 214 vote earlier this morning. In the region, it was early this morning because House Republicans did not want people to know what was in the bill. They managed to pass Donald Trump's sweeping tax and spending plan. It's been a wild week on Capitol Hill, backroom deals, marathon negotiations, last-minute rewrites to get this across the finish line. Lots of deals were cut. So what's actually in the bill, it locks in Trump's 2017 tax cuts, most of which benefit the richest folks in this country, plus big corporations. It pumps even more money into the military and border security. It raises the national debt ceiling by $4 trillion. It tightens Medicaid rules, making it harder to qualify unless you meet new work requirements. It slashes clean energy tax credits. It now goes to the United States Senate, where Republicans hold a slim majority. They're expected to tweak it before trying to get it on Trump's desk by the 4th of July. It is a bad bill that would do lots of damage. Congresswoman Janelle Bynum had to remind the GOP what's really at stake for working families.
Madam Chair, I brought the data. Let me tell you what the numbers look like. In your district, 201,000 people will lose health care because of this bill. That's 27% of your constituents. In Rep Fishbox district, it's over 165. Rep Norman, 148,000 people will lose health care in his district. Rep Roy, 56,000 people use SNAP to feed their families. And in Rep. Houchin, it's 54,000. Over 83,000 kids get health care through Medicaid in Rep. Langworthy's district. In Rep. Scott, it's 124,000 kids. In Rep. Jacks, it's 88,000 kids. And in Rep. Griffiths, it's nearly 107,000. I know where my priorities are. It's with my constituents. And I'll be voting against this trash bill because I stand with America's children and America's families. Madam Chair, I respectfully urge you to do the same and get your colleagues focused on serving the American people. I yield back.
Well, they didn't listen. Now, during the floor debates, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries ripped the bill apart, calling it a dangerous tax scam that gives billionaires a break while cutting health care and food assistance for everyday Americans.
House Democrats are going to take a chainsaw to Project 2025 because it's not in the best interest of the American people. And what this bill represents is your effort to try to put into law Project 2025. You acted like you didn't know anything about it. This is why you have no credibility right now. You spent all of last year lying to the American people, saying to them that you were going to lower the high cost of living. In fact, you're doing the exact opposite. At the same period of time, you acted like you knew nothing about Project 2025, and this bill is an effort to try to implement it into law. So you mentioned credibility issues. I think it exists on the right side of this chamber. Now, not only have you gone after Medicaid, not only have you gone after Medicare, in this
you are to direct your comments to the chair.
Mr. Speaker, you know what's interesting is that every time I've come on this floor, I can use sharp language, he can use sharp language. You choose to admonish me. I don't work for you, sir. I work for the American people.
I understand. House will be in order. As I said, Mr. Leader, we've been very patient. Just listen to the majority leader of the other side who directed all of his comments to the chair. It is important for the decorum of the institution for you to do the same. You may proceed.
We can continue this.
You may proceed.
And every time I'm interrupted, that's going to add another 15 minutes to my remarks.
Fair enough.
Mr. Speaker.
All right, so I saw this clip, and y'all, I find it to be utterly laughable. So this is that idiot Scott Jennings on CNN, and I want you to hear when the issue of poverty comes up. I want you to really pay attention.
That this is in place. Household income for the bottom 10% will go down 2%, and it'll go up 4% for the top 10%. And by 2033, it'll be down 4%, up 2% for the top 10%. So in essence, the poorest people are going to have less income. The richest people are going to have more income. That's according to the Congressional Budget Office.
Well, they suck. They get things wrong all the time. In 2017, when we passed the tax cuts, they totally missed the growth targets. They totally missed what was going to happen to federal revenue. They're not oracles. They can't foretell the future down to the exact science. Our Republican view is if we lower taxes, we'll have economic growth, and it helps everybody.
This isn't rocket science because the poor people are losing benefits, Medicaid, and SNAP. Excuse me?
You said the poor people. What do you mean?
People in the
The
bottom.
illegal immigrants, the people who won't get up off the couch and go to work. Which people?
Okay, so let me explain. Let me explain. The requirements for Medicaid, and we had this conversation last night, but here are the real details. There are already requirements for people on Medicaid to work. This changes those requirements, so it increases them. So some people will have to requalify. They won't be able to do that, and they won't have coverage. There are changes to the out-of-pocket costs for people who are on this program, so they might have to pay money in order to get access health care. It changes how the federal government reimburses the state if they provide coverage for undocumented immigrants. So there are some real changes to like people who are eligible for the program now who will not be eligible for the program in the future.
I just really have to.
Okay. So he said, who are these poor people? Well, that's interesting. This Scott Jennings would say, who are these poor people? Y'all do know that Scott Jennings is considering a run for the United States Senate from Kentucky, right? Scott Jennings is a native of Kentucky, right? Are y'all aware that Scott Jennings was born in Dawson Springs, Kentucky? Antoine, go to my iPad. This is what I just pulled up. In Dawson Springs, Kentucky, the poverty rate is 26.9%. This is significantly higher than the national average of 12.4%. In fact, the Kentucky poverty rate is 16.1%. So, Scott, when you say, who are these poor people? It's your broke ass people. It's the broke ass white folks in your state. Kentucky is one of the brokest, poorest, most illiterate states in the union. Awful education, awful health care, high poverty. See, y'all, this is what these white conservatives do. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about the illegal immigrants? No. They talking about your cousins, Scott. Your family members. See, I know you just signed your big new CNN contract and you think you the shit and the New York Times has done a story on you and all these folks. But Scott Jennings, you clearly forgot where you came from. Scott Jennings, you come from a broke ass town. I ain't even gonna call it a city. Cause y'all not a city. You're a town. And see, this is what happens when these white conservatives get them a nice highfalutin drive, got you a nice little suit, and you sit your little arrogant, smug ass on CNN, sipping on your coffee, and you think you the man. And your state is going to get screwed. See, I remember in 2016, I never forget, I was sitting here reading the article, and these folk, these broke, illiterate ass folk in Kentucky, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know. We voted for Trump, and I sure hope Trump do something about that Obamacare, but I'm worried about my Affordable Care Act. Them clueless ass folks didn't even realize that they were voting against their own interests. See, y'all, this is what trips me out. I get a kick out of when I do these shows with these white conservatives Like Patrick Bet David, hell, he ain't even no white conservative. His ass came from Iran or Armenia, one of them damn countries, and he gonna try to tell me, while I move back to the neighborhood, why don't you move your ass back to your country? You ain't from here. So, they love talking about y'all black folks. Y'all keep voting Democrat. And what have y'all gotten for it? Then they run these handkerchief heads out here like Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum. And they all come out here. Y'all ain't got nothing. Then you got that crazy ass fool out of Chicago to fit this woman. Oh, this is what the Democrats, and what have y'all got? And what have y'all got? All right, y'all notice. They don't never ask white folks that question. The national media, they don't never ask white people in Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas and Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina and Tennessee and West Virginia and Kentucky and on and on. They never ask them, why do y'all broke, illiterate, uninsured white people, why do y'all keep voting against your own interest? What has the Republican Party given you? I know what they gave y'all. Is what Howard Dean said in 2004. God gave guns. Y'all love y'all guns. Y'all hate the gays. And y'all so-called love you some God. Except when it comes to feeding the poor, clothing the naked, and providing shelter to the homeless. See, I get a kick out of seeing these folk in West Virginia. I get a kick out of seeing the folk in my home state of Texas talking about how they love them some Donald Trump, and they wearing their MAGA hats proudly, and they flying their Trump flag, and oh my God, Trump gonna change this country, and your broke ass about to lose your Medicaid. They've talked about how many hospitals are going to be impacted. Some 72 to 100 rural hospitals are not going to be able to pay their bills, but y'all thought y'all were doing something to the blacks. Oh, y'all thought y'all were doing something to them illegal immigrants. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We going to go after them. Oh, yeah. We about to sit here. And we about to give so much money to the military that their budget is about to hit $1 trillion, and they never spent $1 trillion in American history on the budget. But oh, here it comes. But all y'all broke ass people in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, the home of Scott Jennings. Let's talk about them food banks not getting food. Let's talk about when your cough turns into bronchitis, and your bronchitis turns into pneumonia. And then you're going to look up and they're trying to gut the Affordable Care Act. They're trying to gut Medicaid. Your hospital's going to shut down. Then what you going to do? I know what you're going to do in Dawson Springs, Kentucky. You're going to go home and you're going to wrap yourself in your Trump flag, and you're going to try to figure out how to warm up. But guess what? Ain't no lining in it. It ain't fleece. It ain't going to help you. See, I can't wait. I would love to hear I would love to have Scott Jennings go back home. Matter of fact, CNN, why don't y'all send Scott Jennings on one of them silly little ass interview tours? You know, y'all love sending Van Jones out. Why don't y'all send Scott Jennings back to Dawson Springs? Why don't say, oh, hometown boy done gone national? Oh, we get to look up on TV and we get to look at our like little Scott Jennings. It's right here from Dawson. I bet they got a sign. Dawson Springs, Kentucky, home of CNN Scott Jennings. And then you get to go ahead, he get to come back. Let's have Scott tell them what happened to the program that helped folk pay their energy bills that got gutted by Elon Musk Doge. I love for Scott to go back and talk about there are any farmers out there, how they gonna be impacted by these tariffs. Antoine, go back to my iPad. Let me say it again, y'all. The poverty rate in Kentucky is 16.1%. But in Scott Jennings' hometown of Dawson Springs, Kentucky, the poverty rate is 26.9%. National rate is just 12. So the poverty rate is more than double that in Dawson Springs. Here's some more information right here. Comparison to Kentucky, the poverty rate in Dawson Springs. Come on back to my iPad, let's go. The poverty rate in Dawson Springs is more than 1.5 times the rate in Kentucky. Who's the largest demographic living in poverty in Scott Jennings, Dawson Springs? Females, 55 to 64. Followed by females 35 to 44. Then females 75 plus. See, Scott, he 47, y'all, so maybe he don't care because that ain't even in the, so he's like, oh yeah, we good. So the 45 to 54 people, they good. See what happens? See what happens when you go to the data? See, I really wish somebody on that panel last night was a little quick with the iPad. So I'm just letting y'all know what would happen. If Roe was on there and he said that bullshit, I would looked up, boom, Scott Jennings, hometown, Dawson Springs, boom, poverty rate. Scott, they talking about your broke ass town. We played the clip of the Congresswoman reciting how many people in each congressional district were gonna lose Medicaid. But y'all, they don't care. See, this is why Bishop William Barber in the Poor People's Campaign, why they are trying to ignite poor folk in America, low income in America, the working class in America, to vote their economic interest. Because I don't care if you are white in Dawson Springs, Kentucky. I don't care if you are black in Albany, Georgia. I don't care if you are black in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. If you look at the poverty stats, they ain't doing your bidding there. Hell, Donald Trump just sat here and told his own girl, Sarah Huckabee, man, they ain't helping your ass with no tornadoes in Arkansas. St. Louis flattened because of tornadoes last week. Republican governor, 2 Republican U.S. senators, Josh Hawley punk ass, the same one trashing FEMA relief for other states, begging for help in Missouri. And Donald Trump, I'm sorry, my orange ass is going to Mar-a-Lago where I'm hosting a dinner for 200 people who I'm not releasing their names who have given money to my coin. I don't give a damn about you peons. Matter of fact, the phrase, let them eat cake, shit. Donald Trump ain't even giving them a cupcake, a honey bun, a Twinkie. He don't give a damn about y'all. But the power of whiteness is what we're witnessing right now. So if the Senate passes this bill, all the rich folk are gonna be sitting here saying, oh yes, Donald, you the man, you done hooked us up. And all you broke ass people, like the folk in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, I sure hope y'all have a word or two for your favorite son, Scott Jennings, who done gone to the big time. He running in high cotton. Oh yeah, he ain't in the coal mines. He all dressed up and cute, and he doing meetings in the Oval Office and taking pictures, and Trump has endorsed his book. And your broke ass is gonna be homeless, foodless, fatherless, healthcare-less, hospital-less. I can throw any less on the end. That's what y'all gonna be in Dawson Springs and the whole state of Kentucky. Reese, going right ahead.
Well, you broke it down. But you know, white people have the best PR, honey, because for some reason, people don't realize that a good number of white people are actually poor, okay? This is not something that is only the so-called illegals or whatever kind of bullshit. Also, middle-aged white people are seeing their mortality rates go up because of things like drug abuse, because of different economic factors. And this administration ain't got shit for y'all. See, the thing about it is they want to protect whiteness, not necessarily white people. The individuals, they can come and go. It don't matter. You can switch these white Afrikaners out with the Appalachian whites. It don't make no difference to them. Their thing is white power and money. You combine those two and they got all that they need. The messed up part about this bill, though, is what this bill gives to the wealthy is lunch money for them. This isn't, I mean, it's more than lunch money for the rest of us, but for them, this is peanuts. This is in the noise. It would be an accounting error in their lives. And yet trillions of dollars are going to give those people who don't need a tax cuts, and the people who actually do need to continue. And actually have been deprived in places like Georgia and Florida and Texas from Medicaid expansion. The people who do need medical insurance, the people who do need food assistance, they're asked out. And so this is about life and death for people, including white people, actually disproportionately white people, because there are more of them volume-wise than there are of us. I know that people like to work in percentages, but the fact of the matter is there are more white people living in this country than any other race. And so they will be harmed very much by this, all in the name of white billionaire power. Congratulations, you played yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Again, Nola, the thing that cracks me up is when these folk, they always got something to say about black people. You haven't gotten this, you haven't gotten this. Going back to my iPad, look at this here. Economic well-being, this is spotlightonpoverty.org. Economic well-being in Kentucky, extreme poverty, 11% of the state. Food insecurity, 14.4%. Minimum wage, $7.25. Percent of individuals who are uninsured, 6.4%. Percent of jobs at a low wage, 24.3%. Percent of working families under 200% of the poverty line, 34.7%. Poverty rate, 16.3%. Unemployment rate is 4.3%. And you sit here and look at home foreclosure rate, 1.12%. Then you let percent of renters, 33%. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. It shows you these numbers. They broke. They broke, Nola. And I keep saying, black broke and white broke is the same. Your ass broke.
And Dr. King knew it too. You know, I had the pleasure the other morning, I should say, talking to Representative Cleo Fields from Louisiana, and also Representative Nakima Williams the other night at like 2:30 in the morning, as the Republicans tried to sneak past that big old ugly bill. And you know, Representative Williams, you know, she represents districts in Atlanta, her district in Atlanta, and Representative Fields, you know, represents some of the poorest, you know, districts in Louisiana. And the conversation that we had was just about that, acknowledging that, you know, acknowledging those poor people and how taking Medicaid away from said poor people will impact their lives. Representative Williams told this story about how she met this woman who literally survives on $6 a day. $6 a day. Scott Jennings is acting brand new. And if they do send him on this little tour, those people won't care about those numbers, because all he's going to do is tell people that, first of all, that the clip on CNN was fabricated, and the media. So that's the first movie he's gonna make. And then the second movie he's gonna make is to completely, not even respond, to data, if that was brought up to him in that context, is what I'm saying. And, another element to this, Rollin, is so many of these voters are absolutely voting against themselves, against their families, because, and let's just keep it real, a lot of their pastors are telling them in Sunday Mass that God sent Donald Trump here. The conditioning is so deep that no matter how much fact checking we do, it doesn't penetrate, because they've been so indoctrinated. And because of that indoctrination, they will absolutely keep voting for people who do not care about them. I absolutely would not be shocked if that man won the office that he's seeking. And even if there is evidence to say that I don't care about you, poor people, because first of all, I'm probably embarrassed from where I came from anyway. So I really don't care about y'all. They are so conditioned to believe that he didn't say the thing that he actually said.
Right.
Right. So, this situation with the way that they tried to do this bill, we'll see what happens in the Senate. But there are a lot of people who are going to be impacted. Mark my words. And the ugly thing about it is the last thing I'll say. Even when people start dying, and unfortunately that's what's going to happen, they still won't care.
Again, go to my iPad, Antoine. So this is a piece story right here. New census data shows more is needed to cut poverty and improve incomes. This is in Kentucky. It says right here, and so when arrogant, smug ass individuals, like, look at this right here, pandemic era federal program / child poverty. Official child poverty in Kentucky went from 21.8% to 10.9%. In Kentucky. That's what happens when you make investments. But what then happens is when you sit here. Look at this here. The story says more kids have health coverage this year. Then Kentucky's rate of uninsured plummeted for everyone after Medicaid expansion. Numbers don't lie. And so all of these data points. Look at this here. It shows you Black Kentucky households. How there was a drop there. And then what does it say? Pandemic era support show us that cutting poverty is possible. And you know what they want to do, Greg? They want to slash poverty programs. They want to do all of that. That's all these cats are doing. We just need to understand what is happening here and the lies that they love telling.
Yes, it's very sobering to hear you go through those statistics. This whole segment, and then, as we just heard, Reese and Nola just walk us through the fact that it won't matter, that it doesn't matter, and it won't matter. It's one thing to be an open racist. It's quite another to believe, because as you just said, Nola, as you said, Dr. Haynes, because you have been thoroughly brainwashed in a cultural and ideological position, that Black people are simply making that very keen and important distinction, Nola, between Catholicism more broadly, which is the original European form of Christianity, of course, and the extremist view. As is extremism is Islam, there's extremism in Judaism, and extremism, of course, in Christianity. We see the extremism in Judaism playing out partially in Israel right now. So that's going to block them from ever doing anything else. I'm thinking about two books that came out just before COVID. One by Dr. Jonathan Mertzel entitled Dying of Whiteness, How the Politics of Racial Resentment is Killing America's Heartland. You've mentioned this book before. The idea that voting against their political interests, their class interests, they would rather die. And we see, as a result of the policies that have been fomented by those owned by the billionaires who installed them in office, in part by weaponizing this propaganda, even as Elon Musk says, he's not going to spend millions and millions more anyway, because maybe there's a growing resistance. we see that because of those policy cuts, because of the cuts in schools and social services and resistance to the Affordable Care Act and expanding Medicaid, well, you see the increasing deaths among white people from gun violence, those falling life expectancies you mentioned, and the rising dropout rates and so many other things. They are literally, and this is a medical doctor, Dr. Metzel, he says they're dying of whiteness. Now, contrast that with Black fatigue, Mary Frances Winter's book, which came out a few months later. Black fatigue, how racism erodes the mind, body, and spirit. We are tired of trying to appeal to people based on our common humanity when they are looking at us like, it's not that I hate you, Black girl. It's not that I hate you, Black boy. It's just that you're a different species. And I look at you the way I might look at my pet, sometimes with sympathy, sometimes with celebration if you're my favorite rapper or basketball player, but always as something just a little different than I am. Those would be the liberal Afrikaners in South Africa. In fact, when Ramaphosa brought his cabinet there, he had some Afrikaners with him. I look at Ernie Els, the Big Easy, the golfer who tried to plead to his common whiteness with Donald Trump yesterday in the Oval Office. And I wonder, does Ernie Els look at Cyril Ramaphosa as being his equal? Or does he just say, I tolerate you and you're a nice species, but you're a little bit different than me? I would almost trend toward the latter. And this is where we're going with this. If you can't stop these maniacs from voting against their interests when they will simply say to you, I would rather be white and dead than human and alive, then Black fatigue, it seems to me, and maybe even to Mary Frances Winters in her book suggests that we need to find who we can organize with, which is what Reverend Barber has been doing. We need to appeal to those who do have open ears. And the Scott Jenningses of the world, and the Junior Varsity Vances of the world, and the Tim Scotts of the world, and the 8 Negroes who voted for, Lord have mercy, the funniest thing about that I saw on social media about the new and then the so-called president of Florida A&M, I can't repeat here. Let's just say that somebody tweeted that blank sits on the highest of 7 hills, and you can kind of infer the rest in terms of drug abuse and what might be inferred from that. But the point is that those people all share one thing in common. It isn't race. It is a fealty to toady and kowtow and kiss ass and do whatever they can not to return to that coal mine, not to return to that cotton field, not to return to that job that they think is beneath them. And they will do anything to foment that. Let's start wasting our breath with Scott Jennings. If him and his constituents want to die of whiteness, so be it. We have Black fatigue now, which means that should instill in us a determination to find those people who will build in our common humanity. And when we install policies that will help everybody, them hillbillies will be saying the N-word, but they'll do it with a new set of teeth, and we won't care one way or the other.
Well, the reason I wanted to be very specific about this is because, you know, when you listen to these folk, and when these folk always are talking, they never want to be challenged on where they come from. They never want to be called out on their home, and so folk got to be willing to do that. And again, this is where you hit them, and I just believe, and I said this when Obama was president. I said it directly to him and his people in the White House. I said, y'all got to stop. Y'all keep going to the suburbs of Ohio and Maryland and Virginia talking about the Affordable Care Act. Nah. Take that shit to the brokest, whitest, reddest, sickest county in red states. I'm telling you right now, I'm doing a tour. Ken Martin, DNC, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries. Y'all want to talk about it, do it? This is what you do. Pick the brokest, whitest, sickest town or county. Now I'll go back to the panel. Pick the brokest one in Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, West Virginia, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, and who I want to throw in there?
Louisiana?
Yeah, I throw in Louisiana.
You did that on purpose.
I picked them 10. And I would sit here and say, let's talk about how this bill gonna jack y'all up. force the local media to show up, send text messages, invite them out, and then say, why y'all not challenging your U.S. Senator? Your U.S. Senator, your member of Congress, voted against you, voted against your interests. See, I just believe you got to be willing to go into the belly of the beast and say, bring your ass. And let's have this conversation and live stream it. And go to them network. CNN ratings are shit. Go to CNN, go to MSNBC. Hell, I would even say Fox News, y'all want to come to and recite the figures. I would sit there and say, we're in so-and-so county. This is the surrounding data of the 10 counties around us. This is how much they make it. This is how much they in poverty. This is when it comes to food insecurity. See, you got to challenge them where they are.
Yeah, that's true.
To me, and then you say, Trump, fly your ass here instead of going to Mar-a-Lago. See, that's how you got to do this thing. I mean, I get, you know, AOC and Bernie, they were having them rallies and they going here. No, hell no. Go on their turf. Bring the cameras with you. To me, that's how you do this. And then look them in the eye and say, so y'all broke, y'all sick, y'all tired, y'all illiterate, and y'all still voting for them? Who's the fool? Let me go to a break. I'll be right back.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bree Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
You must be my new Lieutenant Governor.
I'm ready for duty. I think I can make a difference.
Just be a good girl.
I'm gonna need some dinner and a lot of wine. I really don't think that he thinks I'm qualified.
What you gonna do?
Pump my shoulders.
When you want something and you earn something, you fight for it.
Kids, do you know who this is? Mary J. Blige.
I didn't know we was about to be attacked by all of Nick Cannon's kids at once.
How you doing? My name is Mark Curry, and you're watching Rollin Martin. Unfiltered, deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing the interview, motherfucker.
Well, they had a Judiciary Committee hearing, and Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett had to school her GOP colleagues on the basics of the U.S. Constitution. She had to remind everyone the Fifth Amendment guarantees due process even for immigrants. Well, those remarks she made did not sink in. This is what happened when California Congressman Kevin Kiley decided he wanted clarification from the Congresswoman.
Who accused me and my colleagues over here of ignoring the Constitution. And if that were true, that'd be a very serious matter. So I did want to just inquire as to what exactly the accusation is. So I'll happily yield to the gentlewoman from Texas if she'd like to respond. Do you believe that someone who has snuck into our country, entered the United States illegally, that the due process requirements for that individual are the same as they are for a U.S. citizen?
I thought the question was for me, but it seems like the lawyers on this side or just my entire team knows the answer.
Mr. Chairman?
Per the Constitution, yes, if you are on our soil, you are guaranteed due process. And the fact that there's even a question is why we are struggling right now. In addition to, an additional issue that I have is the executive order that was signed by the president that seemed to get rid of birthright citizenship, which also is laid out in the Constitution, which is why even the most conservative judges have ruled against. There is no one that has ruled that that was okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So
thank you.
That's simply untrue. The Supreme Court has made it very clear that due process is a context-dependent inquiry. And someone who is here illegally in this country facing deportation, the requirements of due process are specific to that
So
context.
I just want to clarify, and I know that there's lawyers on that side. It's just like we have different standards in general. Like you have a higher standard when it comes to a criminal case versus a civil case, right? So it's preponderance is going to be the burden on a civil case, and then it's going to be higher as it relates to a criminal case, right? It's beyond a reasonable doubt. That is going to be the burden of proof. When the Supreme Court was making distinctions, the distinctions weren't necessarily between is this person a citizen or is this person not. It wasn't a matter of certain people are not allowed to have due process, but it's kind of like there's different ways to evaluate things. The amount of protections that you are going to have in any criminal case. If you think about those that are charged with murder, whether they are a citizen or not, guess what? The burden of proof is still going to be the same. The burden of proof is still going to be beyond a reasonable doubt. There was never a distinction that said somehow, dependent upon your status, you somehow lose your access to due process. And frankly, that is honestly the only thing that the Supreme Court has been consistent on, is that there are due process rights that are going to be afforded to everyone that is found within our jurisdiction in the United States. I have not seen a case where they have said, no, it's okay for someone not to have due process. That is why the plane that was about to leave Texas, they said stop the plane literally at 1 a.m. because there had not been due process for those that were currently being held in the administration's custody. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I think I understand your position a little better now. I can't say I agree with everything you said, but I would just say perhaps be careful with throwing out accusations or ignoring the Constitution, without carefully considering those statements, because the demands of due process is not just something that is the same in every context. It's
Mr.
very
Chairman,
much
I have a
context
unanimous,
so I yield back.
unanimous consent request.
Gentlelady is recognized for unanimous consent.
I'd like to submit for the record the Constitution of the United States Fifth Amendment explained, so that the gentleman can see exactly what is in the Constitution, where it says no person shall be deprived of due process.
I would just point out the Supreme Court, as the gentleman from California has said, has firmly, I'm quoting the Rehnquist from Justice Rehnquist, has firmly and repeatedly endorsed the proposition that Congress may make rules as to aliens that would be unacceptable if applied to citizens.
But currently the Constitution says,
it's not the same process due American citizens.
Mr. Chairman, it just says no person.
Objection, the Fifth Amendment will be entered in front of the Judiciary Committee's record.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows what the Fifth Amendment says.
We will take
Maybe
it.
we could introduce the 14th Amendment too, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that's fine too. Well, you can introduce the whole Constitution. God bless you.
Greg, that was a heart attack over here.
Man, fuck. No. Listen to this bastard. You can introduce the whole Constitution. The only 3 words that mean anything in what he said at the end were the last 3. God bless you. These are theocrats. Let me be very clear about what we just heard. This has been litigated. The Fifth Amendment applies to the United States. The reason we needed a 14th Amendment is because guess who wasn't included in the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution, or the Constitution, as full humans, African people, and indigenous people. The 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution is when the concept of citizenship was codified. This is the point she was making. So people talking about people here illegally, people here illegally. MF, you're the first one that came here illegally, you bastard, but there was no citizenship rule. You took this land from the indigenous people and then wrote a document that did not establish a rule excluding people on the concept of citizenship, only on the concept of humanity, which you claim for yourself, and created a legal universe that excluded everybody but white people. And white people was to be determined by you, as the Irish in the 19th century. Anyway, the point is this. The 14th Amendment, after a bloody civil war, and perhaps we're on the verge of another one, who knows? But the point is this, the 14th Amendment came in to codify who was or wasn't a citizen. And while the 5th Amendment, as she said, reads that no shall any person be subject to the same offense to be put twice in jeopardy of life or limb, that's double jeopardy, nor shall be compared in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. It said person, not citizen. Now let's go to the 14th Amendment, which was passed because the Dred Scott decision said in 1857 that black people had no rights that any white person was bound to respect, because if in Massachusetts they decided to give you citizenship, that was fine. If in Texas they decided not to, that was fine. Because as Africans, we weren't part of the legal universe. The 14th Amendment was passed for that reason. Now, the clown now thinks it only applies to black people, but he should shut his damn mouth. Now, the point is this, finally, the 14th Amendment, Section 1. All persons born and naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state in which they reside. That is a direct shot at Roger Taney, who said that you're a citizen of a state and the United States. He made up a legal fiction of federal citizenship, as if you can be a citizen of the United States and there's some place where it's not subject to the polity of the jurisdiction of the United States. But that's fine. They cured it there. But the problem, what they're going after birthright citizenship for is the second part of that first sentence, which says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. It's a lie. The Kim Wong-Ark case settled that. That was a guy who was born in San Francisco, whose parents had come from China, and he is one of the few people in the United States Supreme Court history who has his name in a decision. If somebody said, you're not a citizen, he said, my name Kim Wong-Ark. The Supreme Court said I was a citizen, didn't stop when he went to El Paso, Texas a few years later. Them crackers down there arrested him and accused him of not being a citizen, and it took him months to prove he was, with a Supreme Court with his case with his name on it in his back pocket. But the important, and here is the important sentence in the 14th Amendment. It says, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States, same as the 5th Amendment, nor shall any state deprive any person, not citizen, person, of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That's the due process clause. But here's the problem. Well, we just heard this white nationalist, God bless you, you can put the whole Constitution. In other words, who gonna check me, as you always say, Reese? The problem is this, what these white boys are trying to do, white boys and girls, they want judges to say in the 14th Amendment and in the 5th Amendment, well, the 14th Amendment is the important one here because that's the citizenship clause. When they said person, they meant citizens. When people say no, they said persons. They said, no, go back to Section 1 at the beginning. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. There's enough air in there for the right-wing judge to say, yeah. So the interpretation I'm going to give, this is what they teach in law school when they start talking about statutory interpretation. I interpret person in that second sentence to mean citizen, as it is should be controlled by the first sentence. It's a fringe argument. It never had any breath in it. But because you Negroes decided that elections don't matter, and then because the Democratic Party does silly things, like let people die in office. You know, the last 8 members of the federal legislature, 7 in the House and 1 in the Senate, that died in office, all of them was Democrats, 215 to 214 last election. Connolly of Virginia, you got Grijalva of Arizona, Sylvester Turner in Texas, and before that, Pascrell of New Jersey, Jackson Lee of Texas, Payne of New Jersey, Feinstein of California, Senator Feinstein, and McKeeshan of Virginia. Everybody died in office. It got close enough to steal, and now we got to go on this hell ride together. Jasmine Crockett can't explain this to them any clearer, but they don't care. They don't care. The law is whatever the hell the judge says it is, and if you don't agree with the judge and the judge don't agree with you, and you're the president of the United States, you know what they can do? They can ignore the law, and we're going to be in the streets. This is a serious thing now.
You okay, Greg?
Reese and Nola, one of y'all want to follow that?
I mean, God.
Well, I mean, I'll go. You know, Dr. Carr, obviously, he held it down. He held it down.
No.
Here's the thing that people don't understand about this whole, the real danger of this due process thing is that this administration will pack your ass up and put you on a plane, and you'll be in somebody's seat cot in South Sudan. They trying to get people in Libya before anybody had a chance to say boo. And you could be a citizen. There are people they've admitted that have protected status. Kilmar, Brego Garcia, and they still like, fuck it, we're not bringing them back. Right. And so the danger of not having due process is also a danger to U.S. citizens, because how you know that they're going to get it right? They don't care to get it right. They've literally said they don't care to get it right. Just like the case in Oklahoma where these roided up ICE agents and all these multi-agency people, but nobody wants to cop to it, raided a house of a U.S. citizen, made them come outside, get searched, stole their goods, and then they said, we weren't there. That's where the due process part comes in. And so anybody who thinks, well, I don't think that immigrants should have due process. I don't think if you here illegally, what you need due process for? Okay, when they pack your black ass up, and your family is in front of the Capitol steps trying to get you back, even though you're a U.S. citizen, they're like, well, we're talking about birthright citizenship. Should they really be a citizen? Should they really be this? Da, 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 da. Well, both of their parents wasn't citizens. When they having that argument while you sitting in somebody's jail, then we can have a conversation about why due process is important for everybody. Nobody has any illusions that due process is equally applied. We know this justice system doesn't treat anybody equally, especially not Black people. That's not the case. That's not the argument that's being made. But due process has to exist for everybody's benefit. It's not a gift. It's not some charity that we're giving to some people who shouldn't really be here by somebody's judgment. It's something that we all need to hold on to for dear life. And we still, even with due process, might end our asses up in Libya or South Sudan. We still might do that. But if we got a little bit more of a chance to stay here because the judge says, well, you know, this is your birth certificate. It does say that you're supposed to be here. Then we need to make sure that we keep that going just for as long as we can.
You're right.
And Nola, these fools had better recognize that Donald Trump will absolutely attempt to send Americans out of the country. He's already said it. And of all the people who say, well, I know he said it, but no, if they say it, believe those assholes gonna do it.
Absolutely. And Marco Rubio is parroting the same talking points. Now, that's the part that scares me, right? When you have the Secretary of State parroting the same things. Like, I understand, yes, you serve at the pleasure of the president, but this is scary because if I'm not mistaken, Rubio's also a lawyer, right? Mm-hmm. So here you have the Secretary of State, who's also a trained attorney, talking about, well, you know, it kind of due process depends. That is we are in very, very slippery slope territory, and they keep saying it over and over, and they're normalizing it for people who don't understand the nuances, and that's what they're banking on, is the people who don't understand the nuances to grow this apathy amongst the American public to where we're looking the other direction. And here, you know, in the cloak of night, like the other night on the Hill where they were trying to pass that bill, you know, here we are sitting, looking around like, wait a minute, what happened to due process? You know what I mean? And that's where this is heading. And for people who do not believe that this is a slow rolling coup, this, like Greg said, and I understand his passion, I totally get it 1000%, especially when this is something that you trained in and this is something that you believe in, and to see what's happening to it, it is heartbreaking, right? And it's infuriating. But I'm telling you, one day we're going to wake up, because we were so distracted with being bombarded with so much, right? That we are going to be a country with no rules, no laws, and that's scary territory. And further, you know, I'll say that I'm really concerned. You know, I'm really concerned. You know, we're people that are heavily that we pay attention to the news and news cycles. We're really involved, and I am really, really concerned because there really aren't any checks and or balances. The way in which the Republicans have done this thing, it's like they have blanketed, you know, every single lever of the government. And then in Congress, the people, I need y'all to understand how important 26 is. And before we get there, they will try to pull something. They are going to try to do something to interrupt the 2026 elections. I'm telling you right now. Yeah. But in addition to that, we can't stay at home because of it. Our lives are on the line here, people. They are trying to do away with due process. They are trying to do away with the Constitution.
That's right.
That is the foundational document of this country. And like Greg said, that document has not always served us. It has not always worked in our favor. But the larger point is, it doesn't matter, because we're talking about the nuts and bolts of what keeps this country together, what keeps this democracy together. And we are hanging off a cliff. And I need y'all to understand how important 2026 is, how important your local elections are every single Tuesday. Y'all have to be civically engaged. We are in trouble.
All right, folks, we come back. We'll have a business owner for our shopblackstarnetwork.com website. And so we have the conversation next. Don't forget to support the work that we do by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. If you can't give that, give less. We totally understand it. We appreciate it. If you can give more, that'd be great as well. We purposely do not charge a subscription fee because we want the content widely available. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Also, you want to send a check and money order, make it payable to Rollin Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Rollin at RollinSMartin.com, Rollin at RollinMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Rhea Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
My name is Lena Charles, and I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana. Yes, that is Zydeco capital of the world.
My name is Margaret Chappelle. I'm from Dallas, Texas, representing the Urban Trivia Game.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you watch.
Rollin Martin on Unfiltered.
All right, folks, time for our shopblackstarnetwork.com segment, part of our marketplace where we focus on black-owned businesses. Now, we all have a sweet tooth, and one black-owned business in Chicago has just about everything to soothe anyone's cravings. Popcorn, the cookies, ice cream, and brownies. They have it. Layla Batoy Dillon, the founder, joins us right now. Is it Batoy or Bitoy? Just pronounce that for us.
Layla Batoy.
Batoy. So the company is Batoy Sweet Treats. That's it?
You got it.
All right. So here I have a box right here. Give me give me camera 3. Come on. Show me the one back. Okay, there we go. All right, so I got the big box here. We see Taste the Magic right here. And so in the box, let's see, I've got, a walnut brownie. All right. Now, these sold individual, or do you sell it as a box set?
So we have a few different things that are out in terms of individuals. So you can get the individual brownies in a set of 3, 6, or 12. But we also have some bundles that are available. And what I'll say is, first, thanks for having us on the show. I'm Layla Batoy Dillon, CEO and founder of Batoy Sweet Treats. We are a luxury treat manufacturer here in Chicago, going on 10 years of business. We're all about food, family, fun, and legacy. And you can find our products in amazing marketplaces like here, but also in O'Hare and Midway airports as well if you're traveling here locally to Chicago.
So I'm going through this here, and again, I see a walnut brownie. Let's see right here. We've got, is this a lemon cake? Is that what this is?
So those are going to be cupcake cookies.
Okay, all right, so cupcake cookies. So I've got lemon. Let's see here. I've got red velvet.
And I can't see the box that you're going through, so I can't see.
No, don't worry. I'm just naming them off. So I got, I got red velvet here. I got lemon blueberry. It's another lemon blueberry. Let's see here. I also have in here, let's see here, gourmet Chicago popcorn. I got that. And that's a small bag, but then we have the larger bag of the gourmet Chicago popcorn. So how many different products do you have?
So we have over 127 SKUs that are in the marketplace.
Wow.
We've narrowed it down to our top sellers for here. So a few things that I want to go ahead and highlight, as you can see here, some of our key sellers are definitely going to be our brownies. These are one of our signature. It's going to give a combination of delicious ooey gooey fudgy, but also cakey. You can get that again in a combination.
I'm sorry, did you say ooey gooey fudgy and cakey?
Ooey gooey fudgy and cakey. We use cacao and semi-chocolate chips. So if you heat this puppy up, it is giving all the things that you need, and you can slap some ice cream on it if you're into that.
Okay, well, I don't have any ice cream. Yo, Terrell, come here. Go pop this in the microwave.
Also, we also have a sweet and savory bundle where you could either get, as you mentioned, either the large bag of popcorn or the small bag of popcorn, and a variety of our best-selling baked goods, which could either be a combination of the brownie and or some of our delicious cookies. So we've got hitting you with our best sellers. Also, if you are old school and you like the traditional pixies, we're hand dipping everything delicious in Chicago. This is going to be our pecan turtles. This is going to be house-made caramel over pecans and dipped in either semi or milk chocolate. So this is also one of our staples here in Chicago.
When did you start the business and why? Were you working somewhere else? Was it something that you wanted, you couldn't find?
So by trade, I'm actually a management consulting girl. So I've lived, traveled, and worked for the top 3 consulting firms. And I just got really tired of wheels up to wheels down, always traveling. With the support of my husband, I was able to come off of the road. And a little bit background about my family, the Batoys. I come from a line of entrepreneurs, from small mom and pop shops, you know, restaurants, barbecue shacks, things like that. So I wanted to come 360 to where my father started his business, and where I'm sitting at right now is a block from where he started his business back in the 70s. So I wanted to also focus on providing jobs and economic development in the underserved community. And for me, doing that through fun, sweet treats, and the universal language of food was the way to do that. And also sharing magical memories from recipes that brought my family together over the years.
Okay, all right, that's cool right there. And so let's see here. You ain't bring me a napkin, dog? Give me that napkin right there. Come on, Terrell. You gotta think this thing through, my brother.
Well, you know, sometimes, Rollin, you just gotta get in and get messy.
No. I understand that, but I still gotta punch my iPad and my phones here. So you know, but he a signal. He don't know better. So all right. So you chose to go the sweet route, and how many employees do you have?
We currently have 5 folks that are working inside of our production facility. All of them are minorities that are local here to Chicago's West Side. And then we have an additional 3 that will be doing what I would call like corporate functions, including myself.
Okay, now first of all, let me be real clear. Everything for me is black. I like chocolate cake. I like chocolate ice cream. All my cars been black. All my women been black. So that's how I roll. This is a good, yeah, if this was with some ice cream, this would be the bomb.
Yeah, our brownies are,
you ain't lying. Some people like, why are you heating this? I'm like, y'all don't understand. I said a brownie or a chocolate cake heated up changes everything, but this is damn good. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Heat it up to taste the magic. Those are also going to be made with natural and fresh ingredients, so you don't have to feel as guilty as you're enjoying every bite of that.
All right, then. Greg, you still there? You got a question?
Hey, Greg.
Man. Well, I wish we can tell by the sound of your voice as you chewing on this how delicious you do it.
Folks in the chat talking about don't smack. Man, what the hell you think I'm going to do?
What you going to do? Sister Layla, first of all, congratulations on 10 years. I was looking at your being recognized by the Bears back in 2022 in Small Business All-Pro Game Days Eats Of edition. and winning that competition. Congratulations on that as well. And it was an interesting line in terms of kind of the origin story of this work. You talked about being in Italy and learning how to make gelato, but then, and I love how you combine this with the question of legacy, saying, yeah, this is delicious and gelato is all good, but I'm gonna integrate some sweet potato, peach cobbler, and red velvet. Could you talk about this gelato experience you had and then how you blacked it up?
Yeah, so at the time that I was expatting for my work, sweet treats wasn't even the thing at the time. And traditionally, Italians are a very close-knit culture. So I was very grateful that they took me in and even allowed to show me how to do that. But for me, again, my flavor palette, though, I've lived, traveled, worked all over the world. What resonated with me were some very special things that the people in my family made. And that was peach cobbler, sweet potato pie, red velvet, lemon pound cake. Those were the things that we were doing on Easter, Christmas, and Thanksgiving. And so once I learned how to make the gelato, it was important for me to bring my family flair into the fold. And that's really what this brand is about: family, food, fun, and legacy.
Thank you. Wow.
Well, I can tell you, and luckily I had a workout and I had limited my food intake. So we ain't gonna go, because first of all, the lemon blueberry looks fire. The lemon is fire. Only thing, my wife, she do that gourmet popcorn. I don't do all that. So she crazy about Garrett's and all y'all people in Chicago. Look, I eat regular ass popcorn, so I don't need all that extra stuff on my popcorn. I keep it real plain. Just give me some damn butter and salt, and we good. But this is fabulous. So someone in the chat wants to know what terminal are you in? You at O'Hare and Midway?
We're at Midway on O'Hare. If you're coming through Midway, as soon as you come through, we're going to be in a store called Evolve. If you're going in O'Hare, we're going to be in terminals 1 and 3. You're looking for stores 6 Point Markets, Branch and Boulevard, Evolve, or any combination of the Hudson newsstands are where our products can be located.
So folks, we want y'all to go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Go to my iPad, Antoine.
And Rollin, I'll say we already got quite a few orders before we even hopped on today. So people are really buying the brownies, and they're also buying that sweet and savory bundle. So just heads up for anyone who's watching who ordered before I hopped on, all your orders have shipped, and you'll be enjoying that from Memorial Day weekend.
Now let me help everybody out, okay, y'all? I'm being straight up. See, I couldn't do one of the morning shows. You know what they had? Now going back. One of the morning shows where they have the cooking segments and they taste some food and they lying. I don't front. I'm just letting you. Listen. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Again, I appreciate Layla being here, but I'm telling y'all right now, if this brownie was not good, if this brownie was not the bomb, I would have ate a corner and I would have pushed that sucker aside. I'm telling y'all, I don't front. This a damn good ass brownie. And the brownie, and again, now there's some brownies y'all eat where you need the ice cream to go with it to offset it. No, you can eat this plain. Heat it up. This is lit. So again, I don't front. I don't play. If it wasn't the case, I'd be sitting here like, okay, we appreciate it. I'm just saying. And so Carol just got my ear. Are you sharing with us? No. Let's see. Hold up. Let's see here. Y'all can have the popcorn. And let's see here. I leave with y'all one red velvet. Let's see, there's a lemon blueberry. I leave y'all one of those. There's a lemon. I'm gonna leave y'all one of those. Let's see how many people in there. Let's see here. There's another red velvet. So that's, let's see here, that's 4. There's a lemon blueberry. So we're gonna do this here. I'm gonna put the lemon back and and I'm gonna take the lemon blueberry. But the other 2 fudge brownies, y'all, they staying with me. So I'm just
And Rollin, may I ask, did you just get your box that you're opening it for the first time?
Yeah, Kara brought it out here. Kara brought it out here right before the segment.
And I want to just highlight the quality of our freshness. That box was delivered to you last week. So everything that you're eating is already 6-7 days old.
Wow.
So that box was sent out to you last week. We really pride ourselves on freshness and quality. So what you're getting and what you're experiencing from Rollin is the same commitment that we give to every order. We like to do wow and delight, and everything is packed and made fresh.
Okay. All right, go to my iPad. All right. Yeah, I'm smacking. Batoy Sweet Treats on shopblackstarnetwork.com. Y'all see it right here. You see the items. You can order right here. Remember, y'all, Father's Day is coming up. You got birthdays. Y'all want to hand out some Juneteenth. If y'all going to have some Juneteenth celebrations and parties, here you go right here. Y'all support this Black-owned business. That's why we created this marketplace segment specifically to give an opportunity for Black-owned businesses. Marketing costs are real. And so we have, of course, a massive audience. You know, we're now sitting at 1.8 million subscribers on our YouTube channel, on our way to 2 million. I think we'll be there by our 7th anniversary on September 4th. And so I want y'all to, again, pass the word. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com for y'all to enjoy these treats from a Black-owned company. And listen, I ain't got a problem saying it. PepsiCo, they ain't spending no money with Black people. And y'all eat all these snacks and stuff along those lines. And this, Antoine gonna keep it on the sister, bruh. Thank you. Okay? Y'all stop switching. So listen, support. We need our people to be in the habit of making it intentional with our purchases. I need people to understand, you buy snacks all the time. You're buying popcorn all the time. And so yesterday, you're buying golf balls. You're doing those things. You're buying coffee. And so we've had three brands on 3 consecutive days. So y'all be sure to support it. And so again, Layla, this is awesome. And again, this fudge brownie is the shit. And so I'm not gonna eat a second one today. I ain't gonna send a second one today, Layla. So I'm gonna hold off, and I ain't gonna do it tomorrow because I'm trying to sit here. Because again, I got a golf tournament in 3 weeks. So goal is to drop 10 pounds between now and then. But we gonna hit this weekend with some ice cream. But again, absolutely great job. And you were talking about, you about to make a point about the packaging. Yeah, this is not flimsy packaging. This is, and listen, I understand when it comes to business, packaging costs money. But this is some really good packaging. It will protect your stuff. So congratulations again on this here. And so appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a bunch. Again, folks, pull it up. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. And you can sit here and you can check it. You can check it out right here. The products. So, Layla, we appreciate that. Greg, I ain't lying, Greg. This brownie is okay. I know, Greg, you super black too. So get you a black brownie, Greg. All right, Layla, thanks a lot, folks. That is it. That's appreciated. That is it for us, folks. We appreciate all of you watching. We have more than 5,000 people watching us live just on YouTube. We want y'all right now. Still more than 4,000. I need y'all to hit the like button. We only at 1,800. Let's get to 2,500 before we get out of here. That's critically important. So there's a lot going on, y'all, that we're working on, that we're focusing on. We're launching new shows, beginning Monday, we're going to be distributing the show Truth Talks. Y'all got the promo ready? All right, so Truth Talks is coming to coming to the Black Star Network. Roll it.
Coming soon to the Black Star Network. Let's go.
Truth Talks is the fastest growing show about pop culture, and now exclusively on our own channel.
Go ahead, say it, man.
Attention! We're back. We gotta stop letting this slide. Bigger and stronger than ever.
I mean, I just have questions.
Season 2 is reloading May 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
What's up?
With new hosts.
Let me tell you what damn time it is.
And big celebrity surprises.
Kiss my behind. It's Oprah Winfrey.
Subscribe today at Truth Talks Live.
Give black people what they need, and we'll show them for you.
And don't miss out on all the upcoming viral moments.
Simulcasting weeknights at 8 p.m. on Rollin Martin Unfiltered and Black Star Network and Truth Talks Live.
I'll see you there.
Folks, what's going to happen is our show will be ending at 8 p.m. and we'll be sending y'all over to Truth Talks. It'll be airing on our Rollin Martin Unfiltered channel under our Black Star Network banner. So we're looking forward to that. So it's a lot that we are working on, a lot that we are doing. I told you I'm working on some stuff. I'm going to share for y'all. I got to take a look at it first. We shot a business pilot show about a week ago, and so we've been working on that as well. And so it's a lot we got going on. We're going to be working on a health show in addition to the shows that we already have. And so we're just methodically building this. Also, let me show you this here. I was looking earlier, and so I told you last week, remember YouTube dropped their rankings last week, where they're now ranking YouTube, the top 100 podcasts on YouTube. And so they dropped it last week, and guess what? Pretty cool. We ranked number 78 on their charts last week, and I don't understand why I can't. Hold up, I gotta switch devices. We were ranked number 78 on YouTube as a result. But guess what? This week we are number 67. We are number 67 this week. So we appreciate folks supporting what we do. We're climbing up the charts. My goal is to get us in the top 50. And so things have been going absolutely fantastic. And so we appreciate everybody that's been watching the show, that supports the show, that's been sharing. That's why these likes are important, because when we send that stuff out, and so this right here, you see right here, the weekly top podcast in YouTube for May 12th through the 18th. And so you see these shows right here. And so we're going to go on down here and see where we sit. And so, boom, we're number 67. So we appreciate y'all supporting what we do. And we're just going to keep building and building and building and building and building. So, all right, folks, that's it. If y'all want to support the work that we do, please contribute to us via Cash App. Stripe QR code. Here you go right here. Click the Cash App button to contribute. You can also use this QR code for credit cards. So you're checking money order to P.O. Box, make it payable to Rollin Martin Unfiltered. And, of course, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. YouTube, hurry up, y'all. You got 2,200 likes. We're 300 away from 2,500. And y'all sitting over here, y'all playing around, so hit that damn like button. You want to contribute via PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Rollin at RollinSMartin.com, Rollin at RollinMartinUnfiltered.com. Also, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Of course, you can also get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available bookstores nationwide. Get your Rollin Martin Unfiltered swagger. Also, Black Star Network swagger. Get our merchandise. T-shirts, hoodies, wall art, mugs, and more. Go to rollinmartin.creator-spring.com. QR code there as well. Don't forget, I want you to also download Fanbase. Get the Fanbase app. If you want to invest in Fanbase, go to startengine.com/Fanbase. And I'm leaving something out. Don't I have something else I'm supposed to be promoting? I don't have nothing else. Be sure to check out She the People on Netflix. Get the trailer ready. Starring my girl Terry Vaughn. We're gonna have her. We're gonna have my interview with her tomorrow. We shot it last week, so check it out on Netflix. Roll it.
You
must be my new lieutenant governor.
I'm ready for duty. I think I can make a difference.
Just be a good girl.
I'm gonna need some dinner and a lot of wine. I really don't think that he thinks I'm qualified.
What you gonna do?
Pump my shoulders.
When you want something and you earn something, you fight for it.
Kids, do you know who this is? Mary J. Blige.
I didn't know we was about to be attacked by all of Nick Cannon's kids at once.
All right, She the People streaming right now on Netflix. Folks, I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Rollin Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?